Hi, welcome to the next segment of Handy Andy. And here we are in spring again. And what we wanted to talk about today is probably the single most important piece of equipment you're going to use at your home during spring, and that's going to be your lawnmowers. Everyone has their nice, beautiful grass. Everyone wants to take care of it, whether you're aerating, thatching, putting down your fertilizer. The one thing you have to do week in and week out, and you just love the task, and that's cutting your grass. So today what we're going to work on getting your lawnmower ready for a perfect spring summer season. And there's a lot that goes into getting your lawnmowers ready. A lot of people will want to just pull it out from the garage, out from the shed, underneath the deck, and they pull the cord and they expect it to work. But there's a lot of parts that go into a lawnmower, and it's any brand of lawnmower, whether you're using the Cub Cadet, the John Deere, the Poulan Pro, even the Craftsman mowers. They all have an engine, they all have a carburetor, they all have the fuel tanks, they have the wheels, and they have the blades. And the single most important thing on a lawnmower is to make sure that blade is sharp. And it's not just sharpening it once a year in spring. A lawnmower blade is something you should do every couple of months. If your mower blade isn't sharp, then you're damaging your grass. You're not cutting the grass. It's just like hitting the grass blade with a club every time, and it's just damaging the structure of the grass. A sharp blade cuts the grass right off and keeps the grass healthy. You want to try and keep your grass at about a 4.5 inch height. The higher you cut the grass, the healthier the yard is. If you cut the grass too short, you're going to be burning out the yard. So you want to keep the mowers operating, you want to keep the mower blades sharp, and you want to try and cut high. But also there's filters in your lawnmower, just like you have air filters in your furnace, just like you have air filters in your car. If those filters get dirty, they are not going to operate well. If the furnace filter is dirty at home, your house is always dusty. If your filter is dirty in your car doesn't operate right, even to the point of getting gas mileage. And it's the same thing on small engines. It's the same thing on your lawnmower. So you have air filters in your lawnmower. They need to be checked. They need to be cleaned. They need to be replaced. The cleaner the air filter, the better the engine operates, and the better you are on gas mileage. And with gas being as expensive it is, it's just as important to keep your lawnmowers tuned up as it is to keep your cars tuned up. So we're going to totally strip down a lawnmower today, and we're going to show you the air filters, we're going to show you the carburetors, we're going to show you the blades, we're going to show you the transmission, we're going to show you everything about what you need to know to try and keep your lawnmower running properly, or if you're just curious what we, the professionals, would do when you bring us a lawnmower to tune up every spring. And this spring itself, spring came early. We've been repairing lawnmowers since March, and between March and we're well into April, almost at the end of April, we've done over 350 lawnmowers, give or take, and that's a lot of lawnmowers to strip down, clean, repair, and put back together again. And we still have a couple hundred to go here. So it's important to do. The earlier you have it done, the better. But we're going to show you some of the tricks that you could do at home to keep your lawnmower operating properly. Alright, first thing we're going to be working on are lawnmower blades. And what we have here, we have bad mower blades. Here's a mower blade. They're supposed to be flat. Here's some other types of mower blades. And all these mower blades are blades that we actually had to change. Here's even a blade that's kind of cut in half. So there's a lot of damage that can be done with the mower blades. And just in comparison, here's a brand new type of mower blade. So look at these blades. You can see why this blade is a bad blade. This blade's a good blade on it. But with the mower blades itself, they have sharp edges, supposed to have sharp edges to it. These blades are very dull, these are very old, these are damaged, and it's not just the rust on the mower blade. The rust doesn't have a bearing on the operation of the blade as long as you have clean, sharp edges to it. And later on in the show, we'll even show you how to sharpen a blade or how we sharpen a blade. But your mower blades, your most typical mower blades, they're going to be sharp on both sides, left and right side of it, but you're going to have close to 2/3 of the blade that is going to be sharpened. So as these mower blades are rotating underneath, you have the section of the blade that cuts the grass itself. What these wing tips are on some of the type of mower blades, these are what they call mulching blades. These are a vacuuming blade. So as the blade is rotating and it is cutting the grass, these wing tips cause the airflow to come up, cut the grass, bring the air off of the ground, off of the grass itself, circulate it around the mower blade, and it cuts the grass and then recuts the grass. And that's what causing the mulching action on a lawnmower blade. But once again, if a blade is dull, it is not going to do anything, but it's just going to whack at the grass itself. It's going to bend it over. It's going to damage it. So with the mower blades itself, you want to make sure that the blades are good and sharp. At least a couple times a year, depending on your usage, you should have a new edge put on the blade to make sure that the grass stays cut and the blade stays sharp on it. So the next things we have here are mower filters. These are some of your air filters. There's flat type filters and there's cone type of filters. And just to show you a difference between a old filter and a new filter, this mower here that we pulled this off of, the customer brought it in with the complaint that the mower wouldn't start, and if they could get it started after a lot of effort, it was just choking and coughing and didn't have any power whatsoever to it. This is a prime culprit as to why your mowers are not going to function properly. Try and think of the engine has to breathe through this compared to through this. It would be like your furnace breathing or your car breathing through a dirty filter. You're just not going to get the operation out of the equipment. And even on the round type of filters, the cone-shaped, egg-shaped filters, it's the same thing. You want to keep these air filters clean. And this is a very easy job that anyone could change. A lot of people might be concerned about working on a blade, taking the blades off, but an engine filter itself, turning a screw, you're going to be able to get to the housing where the air filters are and change it. Safety-wise, I should mention before we go any farther, before you ever do anything on a lawnmower, you have spark plugs and you have a wire that's connected to the end of the spark plug. Disconnect that wire. That way there's no chance as you're tinkering with it or turning it over to get to the blades, the mower is going to start on you. You want to make sure it is always safe. So if you're disconnecting the spark plug, you're not going to get any compression and the mower's not going to start and you're not going to get hurt doing it. But as we're looking at spark plugs also, you know, a spark plug is a good culprit why engines aren't going to operate. Here's a clean plug. Here's your dirty plug itself. And what these plugs, these fouled up plugs are from are carbon built up. And the carbon built up from the engines is going to be just from the natural use of it, or if you have the 2-cycle engines and the oil is too rich, you could get additional carbon built up on it. But if the spark plugs are too bad, your engine is never going to fire. It'd be like trying to start a flashlight with dead batteries or leaky batteries. You're just not going to get the spark. You're not going to get anything to operate and start with the engine itself, the combustion of the engine. The other items I have here, these are just some carburetors. And these are some old dirty carburetors. And carburetors are an item that need to get cleaned. Now, carburetor is something the average homeowner is not going to try and tackle themselves. A carburetor is something you should leave to someone who knows a little bit about engines as to what they're going to operate. But one of the dilemmas we have in today's engines compared to lawnmowers that were operating 10 years ago is the government has regulated a lot higher ethanol in the gasoline. In the past, you maybe only had 1%. You have as much as 10% of the ethanol added to the gasoline now. And what that is doing, that high concentration of ethanol in the gas, is destroying the carburetors in the lawnmower. There's all sorts of gaskets, there's seals, there's rings, there's screens, there's all sorts of parts and floats that are in carburetors itself. And what we have found is that ethanol in the gas is dissolving all of these filters and screens and causing the carburetors to go bad. So they are taking a lot more wear and tear than ever before in them. But something that can be added to gasoline, there's a product called Seafoam. And Seafoam has been on the market for quite a few years, but this is a product that I use at home. This is also a product we use in all our equipment here, all our repairs, and in all our rental equipment. And what this does is this keeps the gasoline clean and fresh, and it also counteracts the ethanol. In a product like this, you're only using a capful, just a couple tablespoons per gallon of gasoline. So you're not dumping this in the lawnmower, you're putting it in your gas can, and it is preventing the ethanol from counteracting and destroying carburetors, but it's also keeping the gas fresher longer. So it's a product you really should consider using a lot, well, all the time, year round. You could be using this in your gasoline, and it doesn't matter if you're using this in small engines or in cars or in snowmobiles or motorcycles or anything. It's a product that is really prevalent in today's society of the ethanol and the energy conservation and so forth of the fuel. You should consider using a product like Seafoam or a Seafoam base type product to help with the carburetors. And then what we have is just plain oil. Oil is something, you change the oil in the car, you need to change the oil in the lawnmowers. And actually lawnmowers need oil change more frequently than cars because it's a lot hotter running piece of equipment, a lot higher RPMs because of the horsepower and the torque of the engines itself. So with the oil itself, you want a good grade of oil, and you want to change your oil at least once a year, if not twice a year, on the operation of it. So if you buy a lawnmower, you're spending $300, $400, $500, $600 on a lawnmower, you want that lawnmower to last you 10, 15, 20 years. If you keep the oil changed, you keep the filters changed, you keep the plug changed, and you use Seafoam, you keep the blade sharp, it's something that it's not unrealistic to get 20 years out of a lawnmower. So the longer you want it to last, the more maintenance you put into it, and it's not hard maintenance. Changing the oil, changing the filter, changing the plug, you could do all of that in a matter of, say, a half hour early in the spring, or even when it's still snowing outside, to get your lawnmower ready for spring itself. But it's important to keep that engine operating properly. Okay, I want to introduce John Steele. John is our ace mechanic, our #1 mechanic. And what John is going to be doing is he's going to actually tear down this mower. We're going to start at the beginning, and we'll start by taking out the spark plugs for safety wise on it. And then we're going to give this lawnmower a spring tune-up. So we're going to clean it, we'll sharpen the blade, we'll change the filters, we'll check compression, we'll do everything. But, you know, John's going to do the work, and I'll just do a little bit of narration on it. So, John, get us started here. Where are we going to start?
Okay, I'm going to step to the front where the spark plug is. For safety reasons, I'm going to remove the wire. And I'm also going to remove the spark plug on this machine.
And you're taking the plug out for safety reason, or is there something else you're going to do to it?
I'm also going to do a compression check on this engine.
Okay, and why do we do compression check? What do you mean by that? Now, this is something that you'll just do if a mower is brought in for maintenance. It's not something a average homeowner is going to do.
That's correct, but this is in here for service, and we're going to do it the right way.
So with the compression check, that tests the quality, the power of the engine, or?
I'm going to make sure that we have the proper amount of compression in the cylinder for the ignition of the spark and the fuel.
And that'll tell you that the engine is still good and worth fixing.
Correct.
Okay, and what's the average compression? What do you need in a compression of a
Usually
mower?
it's going to be over 90.
90?
90 to 120.
And that's
under
pounds?
Pounds.
Okay.
Okay. Good 3 pulls.
And what did we get on this one?
92.
Okay, so the engine is good and healthy and worth fixing.
Correct.
Okay.
As you go through a lot of times, you would think of things, you go through the mower, and you find out it's going to be the compression.
And what would cause compression to be low? Just the engine is worn out?
Carbon buildup inside the cylinder on the valves, holding the valves open, a burnt valve, the wrong spark plug being put into a machine where it puts a hole in the top of this piston.
How important is the oil?
Very important.
So if you haven't changed the oil in 10 years in a lawnmower, chances are you'll have no compression.
No compression, or totally locked up. I'm going to take the air cleaner off for one.
Okay. And that's how easy that air cleaner was. It's just a quick quarter turn and the end comes off.
Right. And this one's needing change. It's showing the wear. It looks clean, but down deep inside you could really see the dirt particles down in there that stuffs up a lawnmower. As Andy showed you, the filters that you were seeing, when a filter gets stuffed, the engine has a breather in it, and it starts sucking the oil out of the engine, And then when you're not checking your oil, and your filter is dirty, that turns around and you blow up your motors because there's no oil in them for
Easy
lubrication.
maintenance.
One of the next things I'll do is I'm looking at the cables, make sure they're not frayed, needing replaced.
Okay, on every mower, there's at least 2 cables.
No, some are 1, some are 2, some are 3.
Okay,
Okay.
this mower has 2. What are the 2 different cables?
This one here, this is my zone cable, they call it. It's a safety one that when you release it, it shuts off the engine and puts a brake onto the flywheel.
Okay, and that's
Okay.
the cable you have to hold down to start the mower.
That's correct. And they usually snap right here because they're left outside and rust in that starts to decay the cable.
Okay,
On this one is my self-propel on this mower here.
and that you just
And-
engage for the drive system on the mower.
That's correct. And they usually snap right here at the Z plate on these mowers.
Okay,
I'm also looking over for safety features like your trailing shields on these because they are a pain sometimes, but they are also a good product to keep you safe.
Okay.
You want safety to always be first.
and that trailing shield just keeps debris from jumping up out of the lawnmower, hitting you, the operator, whether it's sticks, whether
Rocks.
it's stones, whether it's anything.
Yes.
So it just keeps things from flying out of the lawnmower.
And your feet from going underneath if you slip sometimes.
True.
One of the biggest culprits with these mowers is no one wants to clean under their deck. And what we have here is a deck that is totally rotted out, busted, because this here is what the normal deck looks like when they come rolling in to be fixed and repaired.
So it's just a matter of cleaning the grass from underneath your deck. If not, the grass just accumulates underneath the deck, and decks are made out of steel. And when steel gets too much moisture, and when you're just leaving the grass accumulate on there, the deck just totally rusts away. So this deck is cracked, falling apart, and this is really just negligent of the homeowner not cleaning underneath the deck itself. So taking 5 minutes at the end of the grass cutting job is going to save replacing a lawnmower, because once the deck is gone, there's not too much you can do with them other than changing them.
I'm looking at the mechanisms from the governor to the carburetor, making sure they're not frozen, stiff, to make sure that I got the proper spring tension on them, that they are going to work properly. Yes, you see oil around them, but this is a breather that's coming out of the top of this engine to the carburetor. It's like an emissions system on a car. We have our fuel line here. This all looks good. It's not cracked. Ethanol and the gasoline starting to eat out the rubber lines on mowers. When the lines were developed, they were developed for the standards of the gasoline the day that they were designed. But now with the chemicals they're adding into gasoline, they are starting to deteriorate these lines and putting cracks in them. So that's one of the things you want to watch also on your lines. I'm going to roll this one onto its side that has, so the oil goes out of the spot on these.
So you're tilting the mower
Tilt.
to the side of the oil,
That's correct.
so it runs
Right.
away from the air filters and carburetor.
That is correct.
It's the proper way to tilt a lawnmower. Otherwise, if you're tilting the mowers towards the carburetor and the air filters, the oil drains out of the engine and it drains into the filters and the carburetor, which just causes a big mess. So
Yes.
make sure you're always tilting the mower the proper way. Tilt it to the side of the mower that has the oil plug in it.
As you can see, this one here has a lot of debris underneath of it. It's not bad, but it's got the debris under it.
Yeah, it looks like they've taken a little decent care of it. They've cleaned it a couple times.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to also, at this moment, take off the blade
So we can sharpen
so
it.
we can be sharpened, and I'm going to clean underneath the deck. Like I said, safety's number one. The spark plug has been removed on this one.
Make it look easy, John.
It's the way you like to work. I'm also looking up in here right now at this belt. I'm going to also remove the belt cover, which is on the top of this deck, once I bring it back down to help clean all the grass that gets up in between the belt and the belt housing. That a lot of times, potentially, when that builds up in there, it'll knock the belt off the pulley system that is designed up in this shroud. And
And,
it also-
and that belt is just the self-propelled belt?
This is for the self-propelled. That's what it does, is when you squeeze the one handle, it puts tension on the belt, it slips when you pull the handle.
Which
puts
drives,
the-
on this model, drives the rear wheels of the lawnmower.
Correct, and it pulls the transmission. As you see me pushing on a transmission, you can see the belt itself tightening here. So once we have that apart, let's just scrape away.
Okay, most of the debris is off the mower deck. When we get to the final cleaning, after everything's back together, John will be hosing the mower down, and that's when we'll get the rest of the debris and everything out of underneath the deck of the mower. All right, John, what's next?
Well, I usually have it on its side. I will drain the oil out of it, because at this time is when I'm going to be sharpening the blade.
Now, to change the oil out, all we're doing is pulling the plug, the cap off the top of the mower, and John has a pan underneath there, and the oil is just draining directly out of the mower into his mower storage pan, and we send the oil and fluids to be recycled.
Some of the mowers, people think there's a drain plug in the bottom, and actually they're not. And you can actually, they have a figurine to be able to take a plug out by removing that. You could snap the bottom of your block because it's golden in. The manufacturers have found out it's easier just to drain it over on its side to keep that from happening. At this time too, while it's draining, I'll be prepping my blade for sharpening. I just take my putty knife and scrape off all the brass clippings off of it. This blade here is now basically ready for being sharpened. As I'm looking at it, I'm also noticing that it does not really hit a lot of rocks. The person who has this mower takes care of it well, and that his blade is needing sharpened now. But you see a lot of these blades, like Andy was showing you earlier, that are all just damaged from hitting things. Best thing to do is know what you're cutting.
So what we just finished was sharpening the mower blade itself, and running it through the grinder and all the sparks flying and so forth. And all that does is that just cleans the edges of the blade before we put it back on. So the blade is extremely sharp. I go rubbing my hand on it, I'll cut it, but it's sharp and it's balanced. And putting it on the balancer, make sure that the blade isn't out of balance. If the blade is out of balance as it's rotating on the mower, then it's going to damage the engine block, the crank, and so forth on it. So you sharpen both sides evenly so the mower is balanced and it runs smoothly on the unit itself. So this, I guess we could put that back on now, John.
Okay. One of the things is a lot of people put blades on upside down when they take them off. There is stampings in the blade that says grass side. So you want to make sure that you put your blade on properly where it will not work. One of the biggest complaints is when the blade is on backwards or upside down is that it doesn't bag, it doesn't mulch, because all it's doing is pushing the grass over. Now we're torqued at 70 pounds there, because that's what I have the air compressor set at. One of the things is you want to make sure you have your blade properly torqued on there for it to make sure it doesn't spin off and hit somebody and hurt somebody. Right now we're going to flip the mower back up on its deck wheels. The oil has been drained out of it, so you want to always make sure the first thing you want to do before you get that phone call is put oil back in it so you don't forget.
It's all the dirty, black, gooey oil that you should be, on clean oil, it's actually somewhat clear. Not crystal clear, but it's clear. It's not this dirty black color, so you can see how bad this oil is.
Now this mower here takes 20 ounces of oil. This is a 30 weight oil that I'm dumping into it. The newer engines, you need to read your manuals. It'll tell you the spec on the oil that you need to use. Especially for the warranty reasons, I advise you to follow the book. And these bottles are pre-measured. Not all engines take 20 ounces. Some of them take 15.5, your newer ones. The tolerances on the engines are really great now because of the machining that they have. So once we have our oil in, I'll let it settle, but I always recheck it. At this time, I will also take the old filter out, put my new filter in, have that ready to go. I always take a spark plug gapper in the spark plug and double check to make sure that they're still gapped at what they're supposed to be. Follow your recommendations by your manufacturer on that.
Okay. Now the gap on a spark plug is just the space that's between the very tip of the spark plug and that L-shaped wire that's over top.
And I just like my simple disc one for these type of spark plugs. They work great. I'm just going to twist it around and get what I need. On this one, it's 30 thousandths. And now I'll be able to put my plug in because I know my oil's in. I'll put my air filter on. Just give it a crank down on there. Make sure you always start your spark plug by hand so you don't cross thread it. And with a new spark plug, you'll feel it tighten. Then just give it a little more of a turn because there's a ring on there to keep the compression from blowing by the spark plug that it collapses that ring a little bit.
It's almost like a lock washer.
Feel for the wire when it goes back on. You'll feel a click. So this mower right now has had its oil changed, the blade sharpened, the deck scraped, the air filter changed.
The last part of it is just we clean the mower. So we'll take the mower outside and we'll hose it down, and we use a product called Simple Green. Everybody's pretty familiar with Simple Green. It's a very good, economical, and also biodegradable cleaner that will hose down the machine, the lawn mowers, the small engines with, and make them look pretty, make them look brand new. But it just gets all the grease and grime and the rest of the grass stains and everything off the mower. That way when we're handing them back to the customers, the units look as clean and new as possible itself. But we showed you the whole process of, the oil change, the filter change, the spark plugs, cleaning underneath the deck, sharpening the blades, the whole process of what you can do at home to keep your lawnmower safe, operating at peak performance, and keeping your yard look beautiful. So take the time, take care of your lawnmower, and your lawnmower is going to last you years and years and years and save you money down the road. But I want to thank John Steele. Come on, John. Come on over. John has been my mechanic for years and years and years, and I couldn't operate the shop without him. He does an excellent job taking care of our customers and a great teacher in teaching us and the public everything they need to know about small engines. So thanks for being part of this segment, John.
Thank you.
All right.